What's going on, guys? This is Joey Speaks for Everyday People, the podcast. Today we have on the show Alicia Sanchez. What's going on, Alicia?
Nothing much, Joey. Just been looking at your podcast, been hearing about him in the gym, so I'm excited to be here today and just get a chance to be on the podcast.
Yeah. Well, when I was creating the podcast, you were actually one of the first people who I talked to about it, and I know that your story is interesting, so I want to make sure that we get this out and share it with people.
I've been jokingly within my family circle and friends since the Sandra Bullock blindside scandal came out. I've been telling, we've been joking, hashtag the real blindside, because that's kind of how my story is, but I don't think we'll get a movie deal out of it after everything that's happened so far.
All right, so why don't we tell everybody how we met and how we got to the point where we're at right now?
Yeah, so one day I was standing in the mirror at my house. I had my favorite pair of sweats. I had got them, a year prior. I bought them a couple sizes bigger just because I wanted to wear them around the house. Nothing too fashionable, just wanted to be comfy. And the sweats seemed to get smaller, at least I thought. The dryer shrank them, somebody shrank them. But then I remember wow, yeah, these things are tight. I got to lose some weight. And I knew at the time I was having surgery on my tonsils to get those removed.
Right.
And then I told myself, after this surgery, after I heal, I'm going to go find a gym. I know my experiences with the gym in the past, if I go to 24-hour fitness, I'm not going to get the workout. I need somebody to kind of hold me accountable. So I remember standing in the Chase Bank on First and Huntington, just telling my mom, hey, I need a trainer. She sent me over your Instagram, and I remember DMing you, and you were like, come by the gym. And yeah, that's how we got here today.
Yeah. So I actually used to train. I'm actually good friends, and I used to train her dad. And so that's how, that was where our connection kind of happened, where, Steve was able to, LaVon was actually the one who suggested you,
Yeah, shout out to the Fun Police and to my mom. Hi.
LaVon's a trip. But so I used to train Steve, and so that's how Alicia and I connected. And so when she came to the gym the first time, and she was sitting on the couch, and we were talking, and she's a character. She's a very smart girl, but she's a character, and you'll see that here in a minute. All right, so let's talk about what you've done so far. So you've been here about 6 months, maybe 7 months?
6-7 months, and I actually remember sitting on the couch, first meeting you. You're telling me the plans, and I remember saying yeah, dude, I'm not giving up certain things. Wine being one of the things I'm not going to give up. You can take away anything else, but wine, it's just not going to happen. And I remember Joey's face you're going to have to give it up for a week. And I was like, I don't know if I can do that, Joey. So yeah, then I came by the gym after I fully recovered from surgery. And I remember Joey, first day, he's take it slow. He gave me some baby 10 weights. And I was like, dude, you see how big I am? I'm not carrying around 10s. And he was like, you got to trust me. And then I think by the end of the first week, he kept referring to me as the young stallion. And I was like, hey, you're going to see eventually that I can lift some weight.
Yeah. You're strong. So the first week that she's talking about is, so when I start somebody on a meal plan, what I do is we negotiate the meal plan. I ask you what your favorite proteins, carbs, and fats are. What are your least favorite proteins, carbs, and fats? And then I create a meal plan based on that info right there, right?
Right.
And then so from there, we negotiate. Hey, I don't like this. I like that. Can you give me some more of this? Can you give me some more of that? But the key is that you have to do it for a week. You have to basically stick to that meal plan really strict for a week so that we can see if those specific foods at that calorie amount with those macros are going to work for you. Now, some people can do it, for 2-3 days, and you can kind of just double the numbers. But I like to kind of create a little bit of a training camp week, for people to where you have to commit. You're committed
right.
when you say, hey, I'm going to eat the same thing every day for a week.
Right.
The key is that once you figure out, hey, this works. I lost, some people could lose 2-3 pounds in a week. Some people could lose 5-6 pounds in a week. depending on whatever the goal is. And, 5, 6 pounds, 7 pounds is kind of aggressive.
Right.
So, but that tells me that I put you too much in a calorie deficit. If 2, 3 pounds a week, that's exactly where we want to be. So the week that she was talking about it's a tough week for everybody.
I think you want to test your faith. Try to eat the same meals every day for 7 days straight. And I remember just sitting in the kitchen with my dad, and they're eating like spaghetti and enchiladas and tacos, and here I am with a chicken breast, rice, and vegetables, and trying to pile buffalo sauce on there and tell myself that this is amazing. And I mean,
This is amazing.
day 1 and 2, it was definitely amazing. But by the time I got to day 4, it was like a Thursday. I walked in the gym. I was pissed at Joey because I was like, I am tired of eating the same things over and over. Yep. I miss Wingstop, and I looked him dead in the face, and I was like, I'm letting you know now. I drank 3 glasses of wine. You're just gonna have to live with it. We're gonna have to compromise here.
And so here's the thing, guys. So when it comes to a meal plan, I said in one of the previous podcasts, the thing is that so like there are a few different ways you can approach how you go about a meal plan. If you're trying to just get healthy, if you've been to the doctor and the doctor says, hey, these numbers are bad, these numbers are bad, these numbers are bad, you have to make these changes. You need to go strictly healthy. Okay, that's one way. Another way, and we're talking about weight loss here. We're not talking about anything else, just strictly weight loss. If you are just looking to lose weight, but you are not in a bad situation with your numbers at the doctor, and you can be more like an 80-20 rule where you're eating really, really well for 80% of the time, 20% of the time you're kind of doing what you want. And then there's also then the other way that you can do it, which is not something I ever recommend, is you can just eat a bunch of crappy food in a calorie deficit. You will quickly become unhealthy, but you will lose weight. It'll be the bad kind of weight, and you will not feel good, and it's not the route that you want to go. But there are different ways to do it. So drinking alcohol is actually a conversation that I have with a lot of clients.
Right.
So some people like to have a glass of wine at night, or some people like to have beers on the weekend, whatever the case is. To me, I don't tell anybody what they can and cannot do.
Right.
I'm your trainer. I'm not your authority.
It's up to you to take the information with your discretion. Now, what you do with it is just going to affect your results at the end of the day.
That's right. I will give you the info. I've told you in the previous podcast. I will not, and I cannot make people do stuff. I will give you the info. I will tell you exactly where you need to go. You have to do it. And the thing about being a personal trainer and then getting to be friendly with everybody who, I train is that, I don't like to do this. That's just not my style. But I will tell you, and I will remind you, and when the results start to slow down,
right.
Okay, so you're ready to get back to where you're supposed to be. And so now, I don't want it to make it seem like I don't hold you or people accountable.
Right.
But like I said, the reality is that if you do the things you're supposed to do, it will work. How far we vary away from the original plan,
it's going to determine your.
It's up to each individual person, and then that will determine your success.
Right.
So, I want to make sure that I want to let everybody know where you started, where you're at right now, where your plans are to be. And so I want to kind of get specific with Alicia, because what she's done in the last 6-7 months is honestly nothing short of amazing. I mean, it's her, and this is going to prove that you can still drink wine every once in a while. You can still have Wingstop every once in a while and still get the results that she's gotten. So when you first started, where were you at?
So I started at 252, but I want to preface before we get into that subject, your mental health determines your physical health. I apologize. If you're not in a season mentally where you feel like you can give yourself to the gym, you can be happy, you can still have good relationships with the people around you, that is going to play a huge factor in your physical health. And in a sense, I went through about 3-4 years of just mental abuse growing up, transitioning into college. And then it took about 4 years for me to come out of that season of being mentally depressed, having anger issues, having anxiety, having abandonment issues. And this is actually truly the first season of my life where I can say I'm genuinely happy in the gym. And even my mom and dad, we talk about it sometimes, it's been a full 360 for me, both mentally and physically. So started at 252, came into the gym in March, and I try not to miss a day. I'm like a Jamaican. I have like 3 jobs. I'm always telling Joey, but I told Joey since day one, you have my commitment level. I might come in here tired. I might come in here angry. Sometimes I'm on the phone because I'm managing work and I'm managing, clients, but I'm here and I'm going to give you my all while I'm here.
She's a hustler. Like she is a hustler. If for whatever reason she has to get on the phone during a session, I know she's not just texting to say, hey, we're going to the movies tonight. Like she's actually doing business, and that's life. Anyway, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go on.
No, you're good. First month came in here. I think I dropped 12 pounds the first month.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like the kicker for me. Like I knew at that point, if I stayed committed, stayed in, the Lord's will, followed Joey, that the end goal, while I didn't know at the time how significant it would be, I knew that something was going to change.
Yeah. And it was you. Yeah. So the cool thing is that, I did not know you before you started training with me. Yeah. And as a trainer, I can see people's commitment levels, not just in when they show up, but it's the way you go about it. Mm-hmm. It really is the way you go about it. And so you have consistently done the right thing. And that does not mean that, you have not, I don't want to say fallen off the wagon, because that's I feel like that implies something different.
Right.
You have definitely not been super strict for 7 months, but that is real life.
Right.
Unless you're a bodybuilder, unless you're getting on stage, unless you're doing, if your goals are those specific things, mm-hmm. you don't have to be perfect all the time. You have to be good most of the time.
Right.
And you have been, I would love for you to tell them, how much weight you've lost so far, and what how you feel, and just the way you look. Like how many different times have you had to buy new clothes in 7 months already?
Hopefully we can insert a photo here from start to finish. But so I actually weighed myself today. I weighed in at 176. So I'm down about 74 pounds. It's funny because my mom and I just went shopping about a month ago, dropped some money on some new clothes, and I put on one of the pairs of pants last night, and they're too big. So now after this, I'm probably going to head back to the mall, go return those, and go 2 sizes smaller. But to preface that, I went from a size 18 to 20 pants in women to a size 10 pants. I went from a size extra large shirt to a size medium shirt. So it's proof that, the gym works. And, I sent Joey a picture the other day of me having, enchiladas, beans and rice, and chili rellenos. And that's what he's talking about. You still can give yourself that grace and that break. But you do not want to completely fall off the wagon.
Right.
But you shouldn't do it alone either. For me, I have great support between my parents and my brothers. We all try to eat healthy. We try all to eat at a certain time. And we had a situation about 2 weeks ago where I remember it was just a bad day for me for different reasons, and all I wanted was fried food. And my mom and my dad were in this group chat. We call it the Fun Police Fan Club. And I was crying, and I remember my mom was like, "We're gonna get fried food tonight." And then right after that message, she goes, "But then we're back on track tomorrow."
Nice.
So we went to this place called Fantastics. It's about 10 minutes away from here. I got some chicken strips. I got a 2-piece. I really wanted 4, but I got a 2-piece, and I had some small chili cheese fries, and I ate it, and I think I watched like a musical in my room, and I cried a little bit some more, and then the next day, back on it. So accountability from your family, super important, because while you are on this journey too, they're kind of on this journey with you.
Yeah. No, not kind of. They are.
They are.
Yeah.
And just being Afro-Latina, diabetes is a huge factor. And one thing my parents and I have agreed on, I will never be diabetic. If we can prevent it somehow, some way, by the level of sugar I eat, salty foods, this, that, or the other, we are going to make sure I do not end up on the diabetic scale.
Yeah. So, okay. So you've lost about
74 pounds.
74 pounds. And so, when it comes to fitness, I want to make sure that I make this absolutely clear. Depending on where you're at when you start, depending on what your goals are, weight is not always the most important factor.
Right.
But sometimes it is.
No, yeah. I remember when I think the goal was to get to 200 pounds. Mm-hmm. And I remember that was, road to 200. That was the hashtag on Instagram.
Yeah. that was a couple months ago already.
Yeah, that was, the goal was to get to 200 pounds. And then in my mind, I had it in my mind that I was going to stop at 200 pounds. I was just going to keep the weight. But it seems like, my mom and dad, and then Joey, and just in separate conversations, all had already pre-programmed that Alicia is not going to stop at 200.
Why?
Right. That so it's like, why not keep going and see what you can lose and then start to shape from there.
Yeah.
So when I cracked 200, I remember the joy, like, oh yeah, I'm good. I remember saying like, I got to 200, but then it's like, now keep going, and keep doing it the healthy way, not starving yourself, not eating, but make sure you're healthy while you're doing it. Because trust me, my parents call me Bear. Disclaimer, not because I'm brown, for different reasons. And if I don't eat, it's like World War 55 in my house. Like, I am hungry because I'm quiet and I'm frustrated with everyone.
Okay.
And it's like a dagger is going to get thrown at you if we do not eat soon.
Okay. That's funny. Okay, so on top of everything else, so number one, you're strong. Okay, so like you're strong, and so you're aggressive. So when you lift aggressively. One of the things that I had to work on with you, that we still have to work on sometimes, is that a perfect example is like when you squat, right?
All right.
So when you squat, you come down really fast, and then your joints have to catch you along with your muscles, and then so you have gotten so much better at that. It's not just the diet that you've done. It's not just the way that you've lost weight, but you're really starting to build muscle, and over time. So I told you guys before, she's really smart. So I have a hard time sometimes trying to convince her to do something that she's not sure about yet. But when she does, man. So like the other day we were doing squats, and it was much lighter than she wanted to lift, but you did them slow, you did them correct, and like it makes a big difference, and you can actually see your muscles changing. You can see the effect that the way that you do the work affects your muscles right then and there. And so for you're strong. And so I bring this up to say a lot of you guys are strong. And so you think, oh, I'm just going to throw the weight around.
Right.
It's not the weight that you lift. It's how you lift the weight.
Right.
And it is so important to not hurt yourself by just trying to be strong.
Right.
And so as a coach, I love coaching people who I have to pull back as opposed to always push.
Right.
And I know it's my job, and I have no problem with pushing people, but it's always cool to be able to have to pull people back who go too hard.
Right.
And so like I said, you're really aggressive, and so I had to pull you back a little bit to get you to go not just strong but smart, and now you're much more efficient as you're lifting weights.
Yeah, that, the GIF, the little math GIF where the guy's standing at the board. And
Is it a
numbers.
GIF or a GIF?
It's a GIF. Maybe to your generation it's a GIF, but it's definitely a GIF.
GIF or JIF?
GIF.
What say you?
We can have a debate in the comments, but it's definitely a GIF.
GIF or GIF?
GIF.
Let us know. Go on.
Anyways, so GIF. There's a GIF where the guy's standing at a chalkboard. There's different numbers and equations floating behind him, and that's how I feel when Joey tells me to do stuff. And in my mind, I don't think it's feasible. I just stand there, and that GIF just plays behind me. And my dad uses a word all the time. He's like, the ramifications. And I always tell myself, the ramifications of me doing what Joey's asking me to do, how is this going to play out? And if it doesn't make sense, I'll tell him respectfully, because I have a respect factor somewhat because he knows my parents. But sometimes I tell him, Joey, no, this just doesn't make sense. And then the other girls it's like a little gang. It's like the other girls say, Joey, this doesn't make sense. And he still doesn't care. And
then they do it, and then it works, and then like, oh, my bad.
I don't think we ever say my bad.
Yeah. That's okay.
No, we don't.
You're thinking it, and I know you're thinking it.
No, we don't apologize.
Okay. All right. So, so remember, guys, when it comes to fitness, it always is diet number 1, 2, and 3. That is you cannot out-train a bad diet. You think you can, but you can't. So regardless of whether you want to lose weight, gain muscle, you have to be in a calorie surplus, calorie deficit. You have to be maintaining you have to maintain your calories, and then you also have to be progressively overloading the way that you lift weights. So it's all these 3 things along with cardio. It's all these 3 things that will make up what happens to your body. And so like I am very proud of what you've done for 7 months, lose 74 pounds. It just ultimately shows the consistency. And like I said, we've already talked about, you like to drink wine every once in a while. And it's not just you. This is how everybody is. And I'm not saying that there are not people who are just going to be eating super healthy and not drinking alcohol. I'm not saying that those people don't exist, because they do. But the reality is you can still live your life and do what you want to do in the gym. Okay, so I want to talk really quickly about asthma. So Alicia has asthma, and in the time that you've been here, you've had one little stretch of time where it was really an issue.
Right.
So tell us about how it is, how you kind of prepare, and then how, if you're having an attack, what you do and like how it affects you.
Yeah, so I've always had pretty bad asthma since growing up. But now it's more controlled because I have a better understanding. My parents kind of have a better understanding of the effects of asthma too, and sometimes they can catch the signs of me having an asthma attack before I fully acknowledge it.
Okay.
So I probably had, I had one stretch of time where, my heart rate got, I believe, like 210, and I had to stop, and I was coughing and everything. And then a small little incident where you just can't catch your breath. And sometimes you want to push yourself to keep going because you don't want to. I don't want to draw attention to myself. Growing up, having asthma was always like an attention draw effect for people. But it does make it a little harder while training. I have seasonal asthma, so it comes harder in the fall and the winter than it does in the summer and spring. So just taking my inhaler and making sure that, I'm drinking dark soda a lot, because people don't know dark soda actually is a huge hit for people with asthma. Like, you're not supposed to have a lot of it. And just really making sure that if I feel like something is coming on, something doesn't feel right, learning to walk away and like take a break. And just making sure like I'm doing what's best for Alicia in that moment. Because asthma attacks can also lead to, in my opinion, to anxiety attacks. And once you have anxiety on top of asthma, you're panicking because you can't breathe. Now it's like, okay, you have to go to the hospital.
Right.
Luckily for me, it's never been that bad where we've had to go check into a hospital. My mom does really good about helping bringing me down from that high. Even this past week when I had like a mini asthma attack, it was like I called my mom, and she's always able to help talk me down, because part of it is making sure the person feels calm at the end of the day. And then they start to control their breathing. So it's super important that, for me at least, if I'm having an asthma attack or I feel something coming on, like at least letting my parents know, especially because I work from home all day and I'm by myself for a good portion of the day. Like, hey, this is the situation. I'm fine. I'm taking the nebulizer. And then you can also just go for a small jog, get the wind in your lungs. It's really helpful. So this past week, I think I've ran maybe 5 or 6 miles, not at the same time because running is my kryptonite, but in just different small occasions, jogging around the block. I'm trying to catch my breath, making sure that I'm breathing correctly. So yeah.
Okay. Well, cool. So we're all going to have challenges, whether it's asthma, injuries, whatever the case is. You have your way to deal with it, and it works for you.
Right.
And so like what she just said may work for you, but then you need to figure out what works for you specifically to you. I've told you guys this a bunch of times. Find what you like, do what you like, do what works for you, and that's how you're going to get your best results. Right. All right, so.
I'm not a doctor.
Yeah, me either. And you know, that I'm glad you actually said that. If someone brings a situation to me, a health situation to me, as my client or as a potential client, my sister-in-law, Madi.
Shout out to Madi.
Yeah, and she will be on here really soon also. So whenever I have a real medical issue for a client or a potential client, I always run things by Madi. And so what I do is I always tell you and whoever my client is, I'm not a doctor. You let me know what the doctor says, and I want to work in conjunction with the doctor, as opposed to saying, hey, you know, like I know what I'm doing and I know what he said or she said. No. I'm not a doctor. I'm a personal trainer, and I care about the people who I train, and I know that I need to make sure that I'm working in conjunction with your doctor as opposed to working against the doctor.
Right.
So it just that's a recipe for a disaster. So I like to just make sure that I always check with Madi, and I obviously do my own research, but then I want to make sure that the client is most best. well taken care of.
What's funny is I got an auntie, her name is Melanie. She's in nursing school right now in Havasu. And anytime I get an x-ray or something back, I always send it to her. I said, can you please tell me what this is? Like, am I dying? You should never WebMD your symptoms, because I think WebMD automatically has this thing that takes you to, you're dying, you have cancer. Just ask somebody that's a doctor.
Just go to the doctor.
Right. Shout out to Kaiser.
Right. All right. So, very nice. Okay. So let's talk about, so I've told you a few times that this is a very smart young lady. And so I want to talk to you about her. So you have a master's. And you are currently pursuing a PhD, right?
Yeah. So
tell us about it, please.
I think we got to start from just the whole bachelor's perspective. So I went into college.
And what's your major?
Yeah. So I went into college at Biola University. I was a criminal justice major. At the end goal at the end of the day is to work in law enforcement in some type of field that has to do with that, or giving back to youth and empowering youth. So I got my Bachelor of Arts in criminal justice. And then a lot of people don't actually know, like, I have the Bible minor that Biola requires you to get, but I have two minors. I have a minor in youth ministry as well.
Oh.
Yeah, so really cool. There was a season in my life that I was working with my mentor, and she was youth pastoring a church, and I was able to help her, like assist with her. And I also got a scholarship to do that as well.
Okay.
So we would go from, Biola down to Pomona to Mount Sinai, and it was such a life-changing experience because I went through so much in my childhood, and I had essentially no one to speak life into me, and the people that claimed that, hey, I'm here to help you, always ended up walking out of my life in some aspect because it became too big for them.
Okay.
So to see some of these kids who were actively doing drugs, some of these kids were like, hey, this is how you make this. And I'm like, whoa. Some of these kids, parents were in jail and or doing drugs, and they were living with foster parents within the church. To hear some of their stories and knowing that I can't relate to a lot of them fully, but I can do everything in my power. I would leave Biola in the middle of the day sometimes and take these certain kids to, lunch, just like, how are you doing?
Okay.
I didn't have a lot of money as a college kid, but let me buy you some chili cheese fries if I have to give up my Wingstop for the week. Cause I had a Wingstop fetish in college. It was pretty bad.
Yeah.
So got my bachelor's in criminal justice from Biola. During the pandemic, when I actually was the graduating class in 2020, so we didn't get a graduation, which fine by me. Believe it or not, I'm an omnivert, so I can be social when I need to, but I also need time to recharge my battery. So we did this little drive-by graduation, me, the fun police, my mom, and my mentor. You just get out the car, you get on stage, and then you get back in the car. And it was just magical.
My daughter graduated high school.
Oh, really?
2020, and she had that too. It was weird.
I remember this professor tried to come to the car and talk to us, and I was like, Dad, roll up the window. He gave me a B. Roll up the window. We got beef.
You had beef for a B?
Yes. Okay. So when I first started college, I was so broken and depressed, and I felt alone essentially. Just give you guys a backstory. My home life growing up was not the best. Everything from mentally abused to verbally abused to I actually found one of my siblings dead when I was 5. I don't think I've ever told you that. Yeah, I found one of my siblings dead under a bed when he was 5.
Wait, what?
Yeah. So biologically, on my mother's side, my biological mother, I have a 32-year-old sister who has a different dad.
Okay.
And then I have there's me, I'm 25. Then I have a brother who, to this day, he would have been 23. And then I have another brother who is 20. He's 20, I believe he's 20 now. And we were kids. I remember my older sister, she was away celebrating her birthday. And we were staying with a cousin. And I put an emphasis on cousin because in Black culture, if your mama got a friend or your daddy got a friend and they became your auntie and uncle. Just assume trust in that person for some reason. We were staying at a cousin's house, and I remember we were sleeping in a bunk bed, and I was so terrified because I've never slept in a bunk bed before. And I was so scared that the top bunk was going to follow me while I was sleeping, and it was going to crush me. Don't know why, but again, I'm 5 at the time.
That's actually, I get that.
And honestly, like I have never, there's only about 2 or 3 people that know this story, so I'm sharing it with you guys. So yeah, we were in a bunk bed, and I remember like waking up, and I have like, you know, the youngest sibling to the left of me, and I'm like, holy crap, like where's my other brother? And I'm looking for him, and then I look under the bed, and I just see him like, you know, under the bed. So I'm just like, that's odd. So pulled him from under the bed. I thought he was like playing a game with me, and I remember like dragging him to the couch, and I'm turning on the TV, and like an hour later, I think this cousin came out, and she's talking to me, and then she's talking to my brother, and he's not responding. And then I remember after a while, I just hear screams, and I'm 5, so I'm not able to kind of like see what the bigger picture is here. I don't even know where my real mom was at the time. All I remember is my actual aunt, my mom's sister, came to the house, and I remember we went over to a neighbor's house, and the police had actually came as well. And I'm still not getting what is going on, because I'm so used to seeing police in my life at that point.
Well, you were 5 years old too.
Right. I was aware, but I wasn't aware. And I remember the officer, he's tall, probably like 6'5", Mexican guy, big mustache. He keeps saying like, do you know what happened to your brother? And I'm just like, no, sir, I don't understand. What are you talking about? And you're asking a 5-year-old,
right.
Do you know what happened to your brother? And he says, you know, your brother passed away. He was like, do you understand what I'm saying to you? So I remember saying like, DJ is dead. And he goes, yes. And I repeat, I go, DJ's dead? He goes, yes. And now that I look back at the situation growing up, it's like I pulled my deceased brother from under like a bed and sat him on a couch and thought he was playing a game. And there's been years of my life that I blamed myself for that. And then my mom and I had a conversation about it probably 2 or 3 years ago. And she basically affirmed like, Alicia, it's not your fault. Like, and I never went through like, you know, counseling or, you know, therapy for this situation. I lived, 18, 19 years of my life blaming myself for his death. And it turns out he passed away from asthma and having oversized lungs. But yeah, so I carried that.
As a 5-year-old, it's hard to put all that together.
But then you're carrying like, there's that trauma. And then come to find out the person who I was calling father for about 15 years of my life, he was actually in prison for cocaine distribution. I thought he was my dad. And I have this uncle, you know, back to the quotations of uncles. I had this uncle who happened to have the same last name as me, because I have 2 last names. And I kept asking, like, why does he have the same last name as me? And I kept being told, oh, it's a mistake. And come to find out, he was actually my dad. So while kids in 3rd and 4th grade are making Father's Day cards to give to their father, and I'm like all sad because my dad supposedly is in jail, but in reality, I'm seeing him every day after school. It's like, bruh, are you kidding me?
And so, is this deep stuff?
No, yeah.
Yeah. Very deep. Is this what made you kind of want to start giving back?
It made me want to start giving back. It made me I kind of wanted to be a role model to some people. I didn't know who, but all I knew is my escape was going to be college. Going to college was going to be my escape from trauma, from being abused, both mentally and physically. I was actually bullied a lot in middle school and in high school. Like, people would take my lunch, and I got beat up a couple times, believe it or not. I was this slinky, like, tall kid who really didn't know how to fight. But if you pushed me hard enough, like, yeah, I can get angry just like anybody else can, but I didn't know how to fight.
Right.
And there came a point in my life that I also, you know, did some things that I'm not proud of to make money to feed myself at the end of the day. So I knew when I enrolled in college, like, I was not going to look back. I didn't want a relationship with anybody, like, family-wise, that was either deceased or not deceased. I knew that I wanted to go to a Christian school. I always had a strong belief in God. And I knew that once I enrolled, I would never, ever look back. So I enrolled at Biola. I joined the cheer team because I did cheer in high school, and I had some anger issues. I got kicked out of a scholarship program at Biola for my maturity level at the time, and that's actually how I met my mentor. She basically kind of spoke life in me. I needed somebody to walk life with me. I needed somebody to kind of help me. And the good thing is she knew nothing about me. So the people who tried to help me prior knew me or knew one of my parents. So they never took what I was saying to them, but despite bruises and everything, like they never took what I said to them as credible. They were like, "Oh, she's just a kid, walking around with bruises. It is what it is." And it's like, really, dude? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So my mentor knew nothing about me, but she knew that I needed help. And there had been a couple of incidents where I'm like, I want to kill myself. Like I do not want to be on earth anymore at all. Like
How old were you when that was happening?
I think my first suicide attempt when I was like 12, I tried to hang myself. And then like 14, I tried to overdose. And then college, like I definitely like just wanted to shoot myself at one point. Yeah, you would never know this unless because where I am today, you would never know it. But college was really rough because not only do I have to excel in school, I have to figure out my mental capacity, like what I can do and what I can't do. And to make a kind of a long story short, it's like when I got to college, I met my mentor. We kind of like bonded a bit, and then she got a promotion and she became, this big position, and her EA was actually LaVon.
Okay.
And I didn't know LaVon's name at the time, so I would have these bi-weekly appointments with my mentor, and LaVon, she's very loving, a hugger.
Good people.
Very good people. And she would say hi to me. She would talk to me. I never knew. I'd be like, "Hi, friend. How are you?" Didn't care to know her name. Like I had been so hurt at that point. I'm I got to meet with my mentor. Then I'm gonna go back doing life. And then one day she emailed me and said, "Hey, no, she didn't email me. She asked me. She said, 'Hey, what are you doing for Thanksgiving?' And I said, yeah, I don't know, eating McDonald's in a parking lot." But I was serious, and she knew nothing about me. And this is crazy how the Lord works. She emails me like a week later. She says, "Hey, can you come by my office?" And for me, that's like, why do I need to come by your office? My mentor's not here. I don't even know you like that for you to be emailing me. Like, we're not on that type of relationship.
Yeah.
And she goes, I remember saying like, "Am I in trouble, or what did I do?" Because that's my natural reaction.
Yeah.
Because all my life, people have made me feel like you're always the bad one. And in reality, like, I wasn't a good portion of the times.
I feel like with the direction that you wanted to take going to college was almost to kind of combat what you had been through, and now you want to be a part of the solution of the problem that you had lived.
That's exactly.
Is it fair to say, like, for you to want to do criminal justice and so what's your ultimate goal with your degree and your PhD and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so that kind of like wraps up where I was going. So I met LaVon. She invited me to Thanksgiving. 7 years later, like, I refer to her as mom, refer to Steve as dad. There's no way in the world you can break that. And then when COVID happened, I actually moved in with them. And it's funny because while everybody was panicking to like figure out where they're gonna go, because we had like 3 days to move off campus, and I'm crying.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was. So she looks at me. She's like, "Dude, why are you crying?" I was like, "Cause I don't know where I'm gonna go." And she's like, "Bro, you got a whole family." Like, she didn't say it like that, but she's like,
she said it in her way.
Right. She's like, "Go pack your crap up. Your brother will be here tomorrow." And I'm like, "Oh, bet. We're good, guys. We're good." So during the pandemic, I actually got my master's from Grand Canyon in communication with an emphasis in higher education.
Okay.
So it was a 2-year program. I ended up doing it in 9 months because I was pretty bored. So, and then I was like, I can't stop here. Like, if I want to pursue the route of either becoming, a sheriff or a police officer, or whether I pursue the route of higher education wherever the Lord takes me, because it's not my will, it's His will. So I can say I want to go right, but He's like, no, you're going to go left here. I actually applied for my PhD, crazy to do it. And I remember we were having family dinner, and I remember telling my parents, like, yeah, I got accepted. Here we go. And my dad goes, "Is that where you really want to go to school?" And I was like, "Nah, man, I really want to go to like a UCLA or something, but I'll never get in." And my dad is one of few words, but the few words that he does say are very impactful. So I know it's like Steve has spoken.
Yeah.
Listen to Steve.
Steve has spoken.
Steve has spoken.
Yeah.
So he was like, "Why don't you apply then?" I was like, "I'm not going to waste, I got to pay like $200 for the application. Like, that's a pair of shoes." And my mom was like,
a pair of shoes for $200? You talking about Jordans?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm a very bougie. Like, person
Sure.
when it comes to shoes.
Yeah.
I applied, I basically got in, and I'm getting a doctor of philosophy with the emphasis in organizational leadership. So what I'm studying and what my dissertation is on is first generation college students at predominantly white institutions. So to kind of break that down is your parent if your parent has never gone to college, you were considered a first generation college student.
Okay.
And it doesn't mean, a lot of people think, oh, well, that's just minorities. Like, no, there's a lot of people whose parents have not gone to college.
For sure. Yeah.
You can be white, black, blue, yellow, pink. It depends on your circumstances. You're considered a first generation college student.
Yep. And
that definition changes for every institution. Different institutions have different definitions. So I want to study how does sense of belonging affect your academic satisfaction.
Huh.
So
Okay.
for me at Biola, I never felt like I belonged unless I was in certain settings with certain people.
Got it.
And it affected me academically. And because, again, I was not mentally like healthy when my first 2 years at Biola, I think I averaged like a C in every class. And it's not because I wasn't able to do the work. I wasn't motivated.
Yeah.
And then my last 2 years, I was like an A-B student. And then moving in with the Scannells, I was I got my master's degree. I got like all A's. And grades don't define you, but it's crazy how, being mentally, how your mind shifts mentally. And then we always talk about love in our household, how love can really change a person at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. That's what I want to kind of help change. Like, how can we support this population of students more? What can we do to ensure that this group that's so vulnerable has the means or has the things they need to succeed in college? And it doesn't always come with finances. I never needed the finance part from the Scannells. I needed love. I needed a family.
Yeah.
And not a picture perfect American dream family, because every family has their own issues. I just needed people to love me for who I was,
Right.
and not try to change me to fit a mold that I'm not at the end of the day. I
got you. And so like, number one, that's a lot. I did not know. Well, obviously, I'm sure you don't talk about that with a lot of people, but like, I am glad that you are where you're at today.
Yeah.
I would have never known that. I know we've talked and you've told me some stuff about your you growing up and stuff, but not that. So I'm glad that you are where you are now.
Yeah.
And you seem like you're in a really good place. And I am I'm glad that you're good. Okay. So when it comes to so what are you going to try to use all of the education, your BA, your master's, your PhD? What is your ultimate end goal for where you? I know you want to help people and you want to provide a good place for people who don't feel welcome. Like, but what do you have like a specific place that you want to end up? Thing you want to do?
So I always tell people, for one, it's always the Lord's will. Ideally, I would want to work in law enforcement in some aspect. Become a sheriff.
Okay.
Or a police officer, wherever the Lord sees it fits.
But I know that you told me that you wanted to go back to the neighborhood you actually grew up.
Yeah, so I want to go back and patrol in Carson, if that's the Lord's will. But education, I've learned, it doesn't beat experience. So I can stack 50,000 degrees and be smart like Einstein, but if I don't have the experience at the end of the day, that education kind of gets thrown out the door. And that's the problem with my generation is, it's like if we get more degrees now, it's like, oh, I can go apply for a CEO position. And that was my mindset too, so I'm not saying I'm not a part of that group. But like, it's like, I want to go be a sheriff. I want to give back to the community. In the minority communities, of course, the stereotype is that police and sheriffs are bad. They're only here to arrest you. And that's not the case. I feel like if you have nothing to be worried about and you're not doing anything wrong, and you're not surrounded by people who are also who are not doing things wrong, you have nothing to worry about at the end of the day. Now, there are some cases where people are harassed, and yes, it's being caught on the media. But if you know you're in good spirits, you're not doing anything wrong, you're in the environment you're supposed to be in, nobody around you has anything illegal on you, I truly feel like unless you are making yourself stand out there are a couple bad apples in any law enforcement agency.
In anything in life.
Yeah, that will come out and, do things that we see on the media. But I also feel like some people go looking for trouble at the end of the day. And my culture too, like we're not exempt from it at the end of the day. Is there a system problem? Yes, there's a huge system problem. But I want to go back into the community and say, you know what, this is what good policing or what it looks like to be a good law enforcement officer. And of course, I'm going to make mistakes, but I'm not going to change everyone's persona or everyone's stereotype. I'm never going to be a Martin Luther King or a Medgar Evers, but I do want to make an impact in wherever I have the opportunity to go, whether that's in the gym, whether that's in my family life, whether that's in my friend life. It's about how you carry yourself in the impact.
Yeah. I'm glad that it's a lot of people when they are broken, they stay broken. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad that while you have been broken, mm-hmm. you have repaired yourself, and now you're being a part of the solution. Yeah. And I believe that most people, you're either a part of the problem, you're a part of the solution. Regardless of whatever the walk of life it is, whether it's in the gym, at a job, whatever, like you're a part of the problem or you're a part of the solution. And I'm glad that you are wanting to be a part of the solution. I want to touch on something that you just brought up about, like having degrees compared to having experience. And so here's the thing, experience is such an important factor, but so is intelligence. And then, so let me repeat that again. Intelligence is such an important factor, but experience is also, it's the combination. Someone who's book smart, great. Someone who's streetwise, great. But if you can combine them, then you have a person who really can take on the world, because, like everything that you read in books doesn't happen like that in real life. Mm-hmm. I think that a lot of people expect for life to be this straight line.
Right.
I have never, ever met somebody who's had this straight line life that nothing has ever happened to them. They've had to deal with it. It just doesn't happen like that. Life is this. And it's the way you bob and weave. It's the way that you throw your punches when it's time to throw the punches, and right. defend yourself when it's time to defend yourself. And like it is, life is, it's like a game or like a fight. Like in a boxing match, you have 12 rounds. Mm-hmm. You might win a couple of rounds, you're gonna lose a couple of rounds.
Right.
In a game, you might be getting beat in the first quarter of a football game, but then you come back in the second quarter. It really is. What were you saying?
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Have you ever played Uno?
You know what? I think I've played it. Didn't like it. No.
Okay, so life is like Uno for me. Okay. This is how intense board games and Uno gets in my house. My brothers can make me cry playing board games and Uno, to the point where my dad says I'm banned from playing games with them. But life is like Uno, in my opinion. You're gonna get hit with a draw four. You're gonna get hit with my brothers like to stack. They're cheaters. Shout out to Garrett and Moose. They like to stack draw fours on top of draw fours, and then another draw four, so now you're drawing 16. And it's the most frustrating thing. And then they talk smack while they do it. So I can't even focus on the game, but that's how life is. You're gonna get hit with a draw four. You're gonna get hit with a reverse. You're gonna get hit with a wild card, because in Uno now you can, they have the blank cards where you can write in what you want. And okay. They're not peaceful. They're like, draw 16 on those cards. It's like, what the hell I'm gonna do with 16 cards? Like, right. But that's how life is.
It really is.
It's not meant to be straight. It's gonna be bumps. It's gonna be zigzags. You're gonna get a couple of headaches out of it. But it's what you do in the midst of those situations is what matters. And you don't have to do it alone. And trust me, people who genuinely know you are gonna know when something is wrong. My mom can come home from work, or my dad can come home from work, and they're like, "What's wrong?" "Nothing, Mom. Nothing's wrong." Yeah. Or, "What's wrong?" "Nothing, Dad." "Well, shit, something's wrong, obviously." "Nothing." It's like, let's talk about it. My mom's like, "You need some wine?"
Yeah, so I agree, and you're at a very young age to understand that that's the way that it is, and I think that the sooner that people realize that this is the way that life is, you can deal with a little bit better, and then you can kind of make a plan of attack to change things for yourself. I think that don't get me wrong, there are people in life who have such terrible circumstances where a lot of things are out of their control. Right. I think for the majority of us, mm-hmm. I think that we have a choice. I think that we can choose, to let the things that have affected us keep affecting us, and then we can also choose to let those things that have affected us. I'm not saying that they don't affect us, but you got to keep stepping. You got to keep. So you either got to get busy living or get busy dying,
Right.
and one of the two is going to happen.
Right.
And so like I'm very happy.
Right.
Obviously, it sucks what you have gone through, but man, like you have really come out on the other side. Not just the conversation started off with losing 74 pounds, and like we got really deep here. And so at the end of the day, this is just a part of your story. Where from where you started to where you're at right now, you talk about, everyday people doing awesome things. I mean,
Right.
This is what you are doing right
Yeah.
now. And for as young as you are and for where you're at in your life, aside from just fitness, I try to teach people about fitness to where when they get older, they don't have to start, oh my God, so like my A1C is bad and my high blood pressure and I have high cholesterol and all these things are happening to me. Well, if you learn at an early age not to be a fanatic about always just being healthy and not living your life, but just living in moderation, and you gotta stay in the gym, you gotta stay moving, you gotta do certain things, whether you want to or not. I go to the trail, you guys know this, I go to the trail all the time. Especially when it's not the rainy season, when the water is separating, meaning that like the water could be really big and then it separates, so now you have a little puddle here, a little puddle there. Mm-hmm. Well, what you see from water that's not moving is the crap that floats to the top that's dead.
Right.
When you see a puddle, there's no life. But when you see the river or the little creek, it's literally living. You can see it. You have to keep moving. And I feel like for what you've been through in your life, like, of course, I'm sure that there's times where you've stopped, you've paused, like you've had times,
right?
But then you've gotten up and you've kept going to where, like, I mean, look at you now. So I'm very proud of what you have accomplished.
Thank you. Well, I wanna piggyback off something you just said. So if you would have asked me, 6-7 years ago, did my life suck? Like, I would have told you, like, most definitely. But when I look back at it now, I don't feel bad from my childhood. Are there triggers? Most definitely.
Sure.
And just an example, like my mom used to open cabinets and I used to flinch. And she would have to tell me, like, Alicia, you're okay. Like, you're okay. But I say that because it's like, I look back at my life and I'm like, while it sucked, while I've gone through things and I've seen things and I've like done things, like, people shouldn't have to go through as a child. Your parents should be there to nurture you and protect you. If none of that happened, I wouldn't have met, the people I call parents.
Yeah. And
I didn't just get them. I didn't just get a parent, 2 parents and 3 siblings. I got an entire family. Shout out to Grandma Nene's cookies. I'm looking forward to those in November. I acquired a new life.
Yeah.
I got a mentor who's like a big sister to me, that has taught me so much and helps me spiritually in places that I don't even understand sometimes.
Yeah.
And I have friends that we all root each other on. Jesus hung out with the disciples.
Yeah.
And if you really look into it, the disciples were all broken in their own aspect. They all had something going on. Nobody was perfect. But Jesus hung out with a bunch of broken people. And I never want to hang out with perfect people because no one in this world is perfect.
There is nobody who's perfect, and everybody's broken in one way or the other.
Right. So I'd rather hang out with a bunch of broken people. It's like, yeah, we cry together. We went through this. This is childhood. Let's work it out and live for my obituary versus trying to live just to live life. Like, what are people going to remember Alicia by? Or what are people going to remember Alicia for? Was it for the impact she made? Was it for the type of human she was? Or was she this phony person? Like, our pastor made an emphasis, like, live for your obituary. How are people going to remember you on this earth? Like, how do people remember Jesus on this earth? How do people remember MLK on this earth? It's by the work that they did and the faith that they kept.
The legacy, yeah. Oh, interesting. All right.
Sorry, I went like youth pastor on you for a second.
All right. So I have one more topic we got to talk about. A little bit off topic from what we've been talking about. We're going to lighten it up a little bit, and we're going to talk about music real fast because we have interesting conversations here in the gym about the music and about the music you like, I like, this generation, you know, back in the day. So
Guys, Joey plays Taylor Swift inside the gym. Just gonna throw it out there. You play Taylor Swift. Who can lift playing Taylor Swift?
I don't play a Taylor Swift playlist. It'll come on every once in a while.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah. So okay. So
She's gonna ruin football.
so forget Taylor Swift. Okay. So what kind of music do you like?
You know, shockingly, I actually hate this generation's music.
This generation's music?
Yeah, anything after 2010, I definitely hate.
Okay.
Because it's like mumble rap. Like there are a couple of songs, don't get me wrong, that are like, all right, that's pretty interesting. But I'm more into lyrics. Like
Okay.
lyrically, how does that flow?
So do you like other music besides rap?
Oh yeah, I mean, I was
We know she doesn't know 70s because I played some 70s classics and she was like,
wrong.
what's that?
I know like the Carpenters and Stevie Wonder.
She said the Carpenters.
Yeah.
And Stevie Wonder. What?
Yeah, it's like 70s.
Come on.
Ray Charles, Muddy Waters. Anyways,
Yeah.
we're not going to go there. I feel like there's more to music than just talking about, you know, drugs and alcohol and women.
I agree.
But I remember one day I was sitting in the kitchen and I had my iPad, and we're a musical family. So my mom likes, you know, 2000s hip hop and gospel music. My brother likes country music. Grayson, I've converted him to a 50 Cent fan. He loves 50 Cent and Eminem. But I remember one day I had 80s rock playing, like AC/DC.
Yeah.
And then I had like Bohemian Rhapsody playing.
Classics.
And we're cutting onions, and my dad's like chopping up something because I think we're preparing for a party. And he looks back and he goes, "You listen to this type of music?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's pretty cool, you know?" He goes, "Oh, okay." But I like everything from country to, I think I'm a musical person. So Hamilton, best album in America.
The play?
Yeah.
You know, my wife saw it. She loved it. Everyone who has seen it said it was fantastic. I haven't seen it, but from what I understand, it's awesome.
I'm sorry for your loss.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Oh.
Yeah. All right.
But yeah, I'm definitely in like a 2000s R&B, 90s R&B.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you know, I love all kinds of music. Here, if you listen to my playlist, you laugh, but that's okay. I love all kind of music. I love rap. I love rock. I think that the most soul moving music for me is like orchestra music and like the old school like gladiator type music where there's no words. It's just like 40, 50 pieces. Mm-hmm. And like, man, like a long time ago, I went to Les Miserables. I took my wife to go see Les Miserables, and we were maybe like 10 rows from the orchestra. Uh-huh. And it was an experience. Forget how great the play itself was. Just the music itself hit me so hard. Like I was not expecting that. And so it actually taught me to open up my,
your palette?
Yeah, for sure. Because I'm a rap guy. I like R&B a little bit, but you know,
you like Taylor Swift?
I do not like Taylor Swift, but I like all kinds of music. But if I had to choose, like, I wouldn't say my favorite, but like the music that hits me the hardest is like orchestra music, like really good, like soul moving. And it's crazy. It's all those strings. It's all the horn. Like it's crazy. It's crazy.
Bridgerton actually has a pretty dope soundtrack. It's on Netflix.
Oh yeah.
And Chandra Riley, the producer and the director, she takes different styles of R&B, hip hop classics, and she turns them into orchestra music. So maybe if you get an iPhone, you can get Apple Music.
iPhone. Yeah, right. So you know what I do like? There was a. Back in the olden days, there was this show on MTV when they used to play music called Hip Hopera.
Okay.
And Beyonce was in it.
Right.
And
you know, Beyonce's like my era, right? Like if you would have said like clap like Ray Charles, I would have been like, oh yeah, that's Joey's era. But you know, Beyonce's like 2000.
You see what I have to deal with all the time?
I was definitely born then.
Okay. So and it was a hip hop opera.
Okay.
And it was awesome. Like it was right around the time when I had seen Les Miserables, but there is so good music is good music. It does not matter if it's rock, rap, you know, country. Like Chris Stapleton is bomb. Mm-hmm. Like there's the soundtrack from I'm gonna forget the name of the movie right now. Hell or High Water. The soundtrack from Hell or High Water is epic. Anyway, so good music is good music. It doesn't matter if it's what genre it is. I don't love all genres, obviously, but I like good music. And so here at the gym, I'm playing music all day. And so you have to mix it up. I have to listen to things that I never thought I'd be listening to.
Taylor Swift.
And so it's funny, man. Like, and now I will tell you this. I'm bougie about a couple of things. If I am not listening to the right music when I'm working out, it's a thing. So if I actually go to the gym, if I don't have my headphones, I'll leave. I'll go home and get my headphones because I can't listen to the crap they play at the gym.
I don't blame you. Let me ask you a quick question because I know we have to close soon.
Yeah.
Top 5 artists.
Top 5
Hip hop.
artists.
Let's go hip hop.
Top 5 artists, hip hop. Okay. All right. This is easy for me, I think. I don't know how. Okay. My favorite hip hop.
Yeah.
Only. My favorite rapper of all time is Ice Cube.
I guess it was a good day. Okay.
Ice Cube is my favorite.
Okay.
I think Lil Wayne is the greatest of all time.
Are we talking Lil Wayne pre-Birdman beef or?
I'm talking overall. Even what he does now, it's not as good. It's not, to me. It's not as good as what he was doing 6-7 years ago, up to like 12, 13 years ago. Lil Wayne puts the words together like nobody I've ever heard.
Okay.
I love Eminem.
Got to throw some diversity in there.
To me, that doesn't matter to me. Like he puts the words together like ridiculous.
Right.
So, and this is in no particular order as far as who I think is best. Who would be my fourth? My next one. I love. So there's a guy named Sibo, more hardcore gangster rap.
Okay.
Sibo is tight, and E40.
E40.
Yep.
I genuinely wonder how much spit he puts on the mic because he's definitely very close to the mic when he.
Yeah, and E40 is from my generation and your generation.
Oh, you didn't clap when you did. Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you didn't. So I got Tupac.
Okay.
Tupac. While I feel like he had some. He needed like a press manager to help manage him a bit. But lyricism wise, Tupac is very good. He talked about real stuff like women. How do we treat women like guys? How do we treat women like this? And you came from a woman at the end of the day.
Okay.
So Tupac is definitely up there. Nipsey Hussle.
Yeah, Nipsey is your guy. Yeah, for sure.
I feel like.
And I like him too.
Yeah. People judge Nipsey Hussle because of where he started, as like a gangbanger. And here's the problem: if we judge people from how they started, from where they're going, and the impact they're making, like who are we to throw stones? I love Nipsey Hussle because of his lyrics. He's real, but also at the end of the day, it's the impact. People don't know he was building a STEM school for children in South LA, and that's a huge thing.
Yeah.
So Nipsey Hussle is definitely up there. Lil Wayne, the Carter 3 by far best album ever. The Carter 3 I think it's filled with hits.
Lil Wayne, sorry for the wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Anyway, go on. Yeah.
Lil Wayne had me singing songs in elementary school on my little CD player that I had no business singing at any point. And then like number 4, I think Simba is definitely getting up there.
So Simba's tight.
Yeah.
Simba's tight. He's definitely new generation. Like he's tight. Yeah.
What got me about Simba was he made a song and he talked about, it's called like the GOAT. Like how do we compare LeBron James to Michael Jordan if they've never actually played each other?
Yeah, it's hard.
Like who are we to determine who's the GOAT?
Even though Jordan's better.
No, I would agree with you.
Yeah.
Who are we to determine who's the GOAT if they've never actually faced head on in their prime at the end of the day?
That's fair.
And then of course, 50 Cent, Curtis Jackson, man. Grayson and me, we're in the car sometimes. We're like, Minnie, man, wish death upon me. And I have to catch myself sometimes. I'm like, he's 12. He's 12. But,
Yeah.
but that's how I bond with people over music. Music is important, and music can bring people together. And I think those artists, in my opinion, do that.
Food and music are something that every culture across the board all share. Different kinds of music, different kinds of food, but music is in every culture, and obviously everyone eats. So yeah, this has been an interesting, little more than an hour, but it's cool. So let's wrap things up here.
Yeah.
And man, we learned a lot about you today. A lot of stuff I was not expecting. I appreciate you sharing.
Yeah.
Some really deep stuff. Anything else that you want to close with, or?
That's hard. I have a hard time with closing.
Okay.
But Yeah, I would just say, keep going no matter what you are. And I feel like, just for my generation, it's okay to stop and pause and listen, whether that's to, the Lord if you're spiritual, or, listen to people around you. I think that's something I had a hard time with, listening to, people who were trying to speak life into me. Mm-hmm. And once I got over my ego and my persona, and it wasn't an ego because I was just, stubborn. It was an ego because I put up these walls of protection. Mm. And then eventually, like the Bible said, the walls fall down. Listen to people around you, because sometimes, keyword, sometimes older people know what they're talking about.
I think we're going to end it right there, man. Thank you for being here. This has been a great time. Thank you for sharing your story.
Yeah.
And guys, I will see you guys in the next show.
You got to clap.